what is the most efficient and effective way to monitor all that? How do you choose what's most important, what's less important, and how do you prioritize?
Well, and you can imagine if you were a broadcaster in the past, you monitored your transmitter. You had one thing to monitor, right? It wasn't
Right.
exactly the hardest thing in the world. And then you started having cable and satellite distribution. You had to monitor those things too. And then you had your own website. Now you've got OTT platforms, you've got virtual MPVDs, you've got all this and that. You've got a zillion ways that your content's getting out there. And you need to make sure that your content throughout this entire distribution network maintains the quality that you start with, that your customers expect. And so you also now recognize that the content at some of these more distant nodes and distribution methods doesn't have as many viewers and therefore not the same value as the content where you originated from, right where it starts. So you have to figure out how to scale your monitoring to make it cost effective and across that entire distribution chain without ignoring those endpoints. And I think that's one of the key things here is it needs to be able to scale across a very large system. It needs to scale on demand because you have large events and you have small events, and then you also have the cost. You need to have the cost match the value of the content at each one of those places. And I think that those are the metrics that are really driving what our customers are looking for today.
So under the status quo or the way things have been done, you still need to buy licenses. You still need to buy hardware. That's a huge investment. Can you talk a little bit about that, and then we'll lead into talking about some alternatives?
Well, so licenses are and hardware are the old school way of doing things in some ways, because you bought equipment and you put it up there, and you basically bought the license because you bought the hardware. And we're moving obviously to a software model where you're running services, and ideally running those services where you need to run them. And the next thing is you want those services to scale so that you're able to actually run different levels of services at different monitoring points to match the value of that content. And then you also want a license model that is a consumption based. It's an OpEx based, so you can actually pay for just what you're consuming. And so we've done something really neat called adaptive monitoring, where you can sit there and you can monitor all those nodes in your network, but you can have a very lightweight monitoring at those more distant nodes. But when a problem occurs or when you want to look at something in more detail, you can ramp that up to the same full level monitoring you might put at the source. So it gives you the ability to actually see everything with the value you want, at the same time, never sacrificing the ability to actually do a deep dive and really make sure you're perfect at the very edge.